We're okay. All right. Let's start off right away. And Rich, part of this is going to apply to you. Part of it, maybe not, as you don't do tons of or if any prospecting, but there still should be some application. So make sure to reach out and try and grab as much as possible. But the first thing I want you to do is take a few minutes and list all of the activities in your cookbook. We talked about cookbook before. Your behavioral cookbook, all the activities that you would consider, whether it's very explicitly designed or even loosely held, the activities in your cookbook. And anybody watching this recording, you may do the same. Oh, you know what? I'm supposed to. So. Zooming in. As soon as I get this up, we will. Okay, why is this not automatically coming up? It's weird. Oh well, I don't think anybody's zooming in. And I don't have time to fix that. All right, so we'll come back to that in a second. Okay, you have your stuff down. Tell you what, one by one. Read off to me what they have. Let's start with you, Collins.
All right. Activities: cold calling, COI meetings, LinkedIn messaging.
Oh no, I can only write so fast. Okay, what happened to this? This cap was not on tight or something? Oh well. Okay, cold calling, COI meetings, LinkedIn messaging. Kind of delve into what that is, okay? Cold walking. Account management referrals. Was that 2 or 1?
It's 1. Using my current clients as referral sources.
Okay, so I'm going to say referral asks Now, is there a referral asked from non-clients at all category you have?
Always.
Okay, so is that one of the things you have down? Since you said account management referrals,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's a different type of referral category that you officially have now.
I always ask for a referral if I get rejected by somebody.
Okay.
But I just consider that part of the process.
Right, but it's still a behavior.
That's
because
true.
a lot of people don't necessarily do that.
Oh.
So I'll put clients, prospects. Okay.
Yep. Networking events.
Mm-hmm.
Try to do 2 a week.
Mm-hmm.
One of our channel partners, Schwab, that's a COI visit.
Mm-hmm. So but doesn't that count under there? Are you pulling that out as separate for some reason?
I pull it out separate, yeah.
Because
It's more likely to get a referral from Schwab than a professional COI.
uh-huh. Because you have that strategic alliance. Okay.
We pay for our referral.
Oh, because you pay them. Okay.
They love it.
Yes, I bet they do. Okay. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Rich, what do you have?
Most of, if I'm finding stuff, it's usually following up after we've just done a project.
Okay.
Repair.
So what are you calling that? You calling that
Just a follow-up call.
follow-up call? Okay. Okay.
And in that call, I'm asking for, I typically set it up as, hey, how did we do? Were there any issues?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you call that. That's kind of the setup, but then I can ask, hey, do you have any other projects at the radar, so to speak?
Okay, so, and then that's how do I call it? So you're separating, what you're saying, you're separating the activity done during that behavior. So it's a follow-up call for kind of satisfaction and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
And then also,
That's a good reason to call, but that call also serves as upcoming process.
looking for, okay, let's see, I'll call that, I'm just going to say additional work or something. Additional project, future project
Yeah.
inquiry. Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
What else?
Yeah, just ask if I have a referral from somebody else already,
Mhm.
or if I'm meeting someone new that said they found our company through referrals, asking who that was from, each follow up with them.
So what are we calling that? So this is if it comes to you, if you get a referral,
Yeah.
then, but what's the behavior? Think of it like this, what's the kind of the purposeful behavior that you control in that process? So you get a referral, and then so what exactly, how would you classify that as what you do? Obviously you're going to follow up on referrals.
Yeah, yeah.
Asking them for another referral or something?
Yeah, that'd be about it. I mean, that's pretty much how I get work is repeat business from existing clients, or for handoffs from other people in the office. Like I just told you about the thing from Amber.
Right,
She
right,
found
right.
that, so she just handed it off to me.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that's fair enough now. That's why I say some of this, because you don't do a lot of active prospecting, but let's see if we can pull some other stuff out of here. So I'm going to do something real quick here. We're at A next to that. We're at A next to that. 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 Mm-hmm.
I guess you could say part of how I find work too is just asking the right questions while I'm on existing project, existing call, like, hey, when are you planning on replacing this? Well, why would I do that? Well, hey, this is kind of the end of its lifespan. Have you thought about planned replacement?
Okay. So existing project or client, I'm going to call it mining, basically mining for. Okay. that, and like that. Some of these letters I'm putting next to these things. So we're going to talk about basically being a strategic, if you will, in or even or more strategic with your clients and your prospects. You know, when we talk about Cookbook, we tend to think, you know, we talk a lot about prospecting Cookbook, and that's, I mean, that's kind of where we go from as far as what are your behaviors. But overall, you know, managers can have cookbooks. I mean, their cookbook behaviors would end up being more maybe like coaching sessions, maybe ride-alongs, things like that. Basically, whatever has to do with performing your particular job in the way it needs to be performed to maximize the effect of whatever you're charged with doing. So when we think about our clients and our prospects, we're gonna and we think about Cookbook, we're gonna expand this a little bit. So here's the first thing I want you to do as we kind of get into this. Think about your current client. Well, no, don't think about your clients. Actually, try your best not to pigeonhole into a client. But I want you to write down the attributes of a type of client that you want to keep just as they are. The attributes, the type of client that you want to keep just as they are, not necessarily grow them, certainly not lose them. Just maintain for whatever reason. That's the type of client I want to keep them just as they are. And so think about this as you think about it. When you think about attributes, maybe the profitability, the profit, profitability, profit margin, maybe the potential that they have or don't have, any kind of vulnerability that you might have to losing them or not, the cost of maintaining them or servicing them, you know, the level of, I don't know how much they might be a pain in the rear or not. Maybe an attribute may be kind of how they may feed your funnel, how many referrals you may get from them on an annual basis. So think about that for a second. Give it a couple minutes. Just the attributes, and this isn't necessarily an easy thing, and it's not like I'm looking for a long list, but just get out whatever comes to mind. The attributes of a client that you would just want to keep as is. Attributes of a client you just want to keep as is, given those parameters. So, Rich, what do you have as far as the attributes? Like I say, we might massage it a little bit, but what do you have?
I have a client that would be low volume and just low room to expand.
Low volume. Okay.
Client that takes up a substantial amount of my time relative to their current size.
You want to keep those clients?
Depends, yeah.
No, help me understand it. They take up a substantial amount of your time compared to others.
Well, more so than an A client, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, no, it does. So hold on. When you say, so you want a client, you're not trying to grow them. They have low volume, but they take up a lot of time. To me, that sounds like you're not necessarily going to be making.
So I got one in mind. So one that would be strategic to my resume.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Oh. Okay. As I write that, explain to me what that means
So
for you.
example, usually data center work is pretty profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have one data center that's pretty profitable, but I have another one that's run by the state.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a pain in the ass, and it's not that high margin.
Okay.
And so I don't want any more clients like that. But I don't want to drop them, because now if I go after more data center work, the question, data centers are very technical.
Mm-hmm.
And very critical typically, so they don't want to hand over a maintenance account to someone that has a little experience with data center.
Ah.
So right now I have two, so I can say, well, I already manage two. If I
Mhm.
drop one, then it's like, well, now I only have one, which is not necessarily a deal breaker.
Okay.
But having two is better than having one.
Okay, but you don't want to.
I don't wanna expand on that.
Okay, thank you. See, sometimes we need clarification.
Yeah.
What else do you have?
What's that? Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah, because if they're down, they're losing $1 million a second.
Oh yeah. I mean, I knew what you're saying there. It's critical. They can't afford to roll the dice on somebody who doesn't know what they're doing and doesn't have a proven track record. Data. Hey, the whole world goes on data, right? Did you see the? I mean, as an example, and this is not a good example but maybe it's an analogy. You remember did you see the Social Network Facebook movie?
Yeah, I never saw it.
Saw it?
That's really good.
Yeah, it really is. It was really good. You should check it out. By the way, Mission Impossible.
I've heard the new one's
Fantastic.
actually really awesome.
Oh, it might be the second best one
That's what I
of it all. Because I still love the first one as the best
Yeah.
one. No,
Alright.
this. Hey, my wife even liked it. She's like gripping my arm during the movie, like, honey, that hurt, because it's so there's some tense moments there, just where you're just on the edge of your seat. Anyway, in the Social Network, there was a point in time when they were getting up and running. The partner who basically helped create it, and he didn't like the direction it was going, but he kind of bankrolled it. I don't know what his name was, but at some point you remember he shut it down, or he didn't fund. He kind of cut the funding, and that was not a good thing. I mean, because if it was down, boom, what people can't. This is in the early parts. They can't talk. They can't do this. I mean, it was really, really tentative. Now that's just Facebook and social stuff, right? But data centers where,
it's like $1 million or millions of dollars a second they lose.
Mhm.
So they have redundancies and then redundancies.
Yeah,
to the
probably more
redundancies.
redundancies than NASA,
If
right?
something's down, it's got to get fixed right away.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I don't know if your PD person will do this, but you guys operate in like Boise.
We have an office in Boise.
There are an unusually large number of data centers in the Boise, like really in a high.
There's a lot in Eastern Washington too.
Dude.
Yeah, definitely around the Moses
insane.
Lake area those yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
those things are nuts. You'll find
Mhm.
these small towns with engineers who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year,
Mhm.
whose only job is to maintain those.
Oh yeah, 'cause it's so important.
And
Yeah.
they live on next to nothing, and
Yeah.
they're engineers, so they're cheap anyways.
Yeah.
And what's good for a company like mine is like they're not gonna go to low bid or to a mom and pop shop off the street because it's so
Can't do it.
important. They're not gonna do that, and so you can demand higher margin because you can't just get someone off the street to do it.
Okay.
That's pretty fun.
Whereas like when I told you about the retail work, putting in work at a mall.
Yeah.
It's a mall.
It's a mall, yeah, right.
If you have 4 air conditioners for your retail outlet and one fails,
Exactly.
they're a little uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
what?
Okay, so you got. Thank you for that explanation. What else? Yeah.
A contract that would be limited to margin because of contractually. So maybe it's profitable, but hey, there's more profitable work out there.
Okay.
Sometimes that happens, particularly on municipal contracts. You'll say, all right,
Right.
well, like for example, I'm trying to think of one that's limited. I have a couple that were like repair work's limited to 28% margin.
Okay.
Which is still sounds really good, but usually our target's 35.
Yeah, and hey, money's money.
But if that's target, then
Mhm.
and you're getting some that's 28, you kind of have to have some that's a little more. So
Okay.
not
Fair
that
enough.
you want to give that up,
Mhm.
but why would you want to expand on that?
Fair enough. Okay. Anything else that you have?
That's what I had.
Okay. Collins, what about you?
Where we have 100% wallet share for the assets.
Okay. That's always nice.
Yeah.
Quit splitting that stuff up. Quit hedging your bets.
You're more likely to lose a client. Every statistic shows you're like significantly more likely to lose a client if you don't have,
Oh yeah. Mhm.
at least 90%. Not a huge network.
Mhm.
They value advice and counsel.
I assume they all do, don't they?
What's that?
I assume they all do, don't they?
Not really.
Oh, okay. Oh, because some just like, hey, here's my money, don't lose it. Talk to me next year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some people are absolute. They just think in terms of, well, I need 5% a year. Okay.
As long as you do that,
Yeah.
I'm good. You won't hear from me.
It's like if we're up 15% one year and down 5%, you get together. Oh, absolutely not.
It's amazing. I got you. Okay.
Yeah. So has issues they want help with.
Issues want help with. Okay. Anything else?
Honest.
Honest. As opposed to those lying scoundrels. It's a whole different type of client. I still want them.
Well, if they're lying, but it's high margin. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
They want to expand it anyway.
Good spousal relationship, assuming they have a spouse.
Oh. Good spousal, as far as we know,
Yeah.
relationship.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
And interests outside of investing. They
Interest?
can't have an interest in investing. It's just if they like things outside of sitting in a home all day.
Gotcha. Okay.
They're typically a better client.
Okay. Okay. That's fair enough. All right. So there's that. Now I want you to write down some attributes, and you'll see that if some of these things overlap, that's fine. We'll deal with it. And now I want you to write down some attributes of prospects that you want to be clients. And then let's say even if you don't necessarily prospect actively, still want you to think about it. Prospects that you want to be clients. What are the attributes? What are some of the key attributes that you want? 2 minutes for that.
I just realist that.
You can, but once again, this was clients. Hey, I want to keep them. I'm not trying to grow them. I'm not trying to. And I can put check marks if you end up having them on there. Don't want to lose them. But this is in an ideal world. Think of it like that. Prospects you want to have as clients. And time. 2 minutes. Okay. Let's go at it again. Rich, what do you have? And it may not be an exhaustive list, but we want to get some things down.
I would say clients that are higher margin.
Okay, higher margin.
Clients that are higher volume.
Higher volume.
Clients that are easy to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Clients that maybe there's room to expand business with.
That's always good.
That's what I have.
Okay. Collins.
Okay.
Otherwise known as Connor. I don't know where they came from.
You think of Connor McNabb by any chance? I get confused with him all the time.
Really? Who's Connor McNabb?
He's a UFC fighter.
Oh. I don't watch much of that stuff. But yeah, okay.
That never happened.
Right.
Young.
Young.
Uh-huh.
Okay. As opposed to those old farts that have tons of money.
Dude, a young
I
client
get it.
in their 40s or 50s would take any day over somebody in their 80s.
I actually know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Because then you end up having to prospect
Mhm.
kids as well.
Mhm.
It's a process.
Yeah.
Care about advice and / are open to advice.
Okay. That's kind of this one, right?
Yep.
Value, advice, and counsel. Okay.
Planning / solution focused.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
Bigger picture thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
Busy and extra, or busy and outside, busy and interests and open interests, kind of.
Is that the same thing or two separate things?
Busy.
Busy with several, like they have a lot of things going on.
Yeah, busy with things that they have an interest in.
Okay. Busy with outside interests.
Bingo.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm here to
Really
help.
talk this morning.
I know what you mean. That it?
And then a big network.
Ah, big network. Okay. All right. Next 2-minute exercise. I want you to think about the attributes of clients or prospects that you lost at some point. Clients that you lost or prospects that it didn't work out. What are the attributes of 2 minutes of those individuals? Clients you lost, you want to re-engage with, or prospects, once again, that maybe you want a second shot at. All right, same drill, recapture. Rich, anything new, or you want to kind of highlight one of
The
them?
only thing I could think of, maybe I didn't add the other would be a decent volume to start with.
Okay, decent volume, right? Okay, because low, because this is low volume, keep them, but it's not. I'm not necessarily trying to recapture low volume. If they come to me, that's fine.
Right.
Okay, decent volume, and then most of these other.
Yeah, easy to work with, room to expand.
I'll say C, attain. Collins, what about you?
Performance oriented. Disinterested in planning.
Disinterested in planning.
Yep.
Help me understand why that made that list.
Because, to me, a plan is the absolute most important thing you can have for somebody. It dictates what do they need to reach their goal. So what's
Absolutely.
their required rate of return.
Mhm.
It's like very solutions oriented. The investments serve as the vehicle to get them there. What I've found is that people who have a disinterest in planning tend to think about things in very absolute terms. So like I said, the guy needs 5% a year. We get him 15% one year, and he's down 5% the next. Pretty likely to fire us because he's only thinking of the high water mark. That tends to be that type of person who you can't turn back and say, hey, if you'll recall, when we went through this plan, here's what we needed, and here's what we got. Help me understand what I'm missing. The person who does not have an interest in that is just going to think at an absolutely relevant.
So why do you want to recapture that person?
I wouldn't want to. I thought this was.
Oh no. This is people you want to recapture. If you lost them, people the attributes of somebody, a prospect that you want to give back. There's some prospects that I've lost, and I don't want to try and get them back because I probably should have disqualified them before, but I just kind of pushed forward anyway. But then there are others that, you know what, I'd like to recapture that because of, and like Rich said, it may be some of these things, but sometimes there may be some other aspects. Because you said performance oriented, so I assume you want those people, right? Or no, you don't want performance oriented?
I think it's important to understand the performance, but I think what's a lot more important than that is really understanding your plan and why like an allocation fits into it.
But at some point, performance is, I hope so.
You're right.
Let me write down. Don't go to Freestone. They don't care about performance.
No, we do. And we've had great performance. It's just not every year is going to be great performance.
Okay, so I should write those off.
I think so.
Okay. Well, tell you what, we'll think about as we go through, and then I'll do one more because there may, even if there's one or two more things. Now, finally, 2 minutes, clients, attributes of a client that, with whom you want to expand the relationship. Attributes of a client with whom you'd want to expand the relationship. All right. What do we have there? Rich.
I would say either someone who has a good margin and room to expand or high volume.
Good margin.
With room for expansion.
High volume.
Or someone that was not necessarily high volume, but very good margin.
Right. Okay, we'll lump that under good. Very good. All right. Those three things. Anything else?
You know what I never thought of in these other ones was someone that pays on time.
Ah, pays on time.
I don't usually have to deal with that because I'm not AR, but
Mm-hmm.
it becomes an issue if you get someone that's not paying on time.
Mhm.
Plus, I don't get paid commission until they pay, so.
Whoa, there you go. Okay. All right. So, you can't know whether they pay on time, but you certainly, I'm going to pop that in here.
Yeah.
Pays on time. Okay. Anything else?
Easy to work with.
Mm-hmm. All right.
That's pretty much it.
Okay, Colin?
Clients where we have a 30 to 75% wallet share.
Mm-hmm.
Have needs we are meeting.
Have needs.
We are meeting.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Large network. $35 to 55 years old.
There's that age discrimination thing again.
Are busy.
And busy. Assuming busy with outside interests or something like that. Okay. Or as opposed to cleaning the house or something. Okay. All right.
Not watching Fox News all day.
All right. Okay, so you notice what I've kind of put in these categories. There are clients we want to keep. There are clients we want to obtain. There are clients, prospects we want to recapture. And then there are clients that we want to expand. I've kind of alluded to this a little bit, but this is our KARE account designation, and you can kind of use that. It's out of our enterprise planning tool, but it really counts for everybody. Now, here's the interesting thing. We're just going to kind of take a little. We're not really going to use this other than, I'll have you write some stuff down. Now, going back to that, because this really the title of this session, let's call it, is KARE and your cookbook. Now, let's go back to your cookbook activities. These behaviors that are out there. Notice I have A's next to some of them. A stands for attain, right? Makes sense. And a couple of E's, expand, and then I threw a K there for keep. Typically in our cookbooks, depending on what our gig is, we don't have, we haven't broken out all the behaviors necessary from a strategic point of view to really hit these particular things. But if we have some clients that we want to keep, we don't want to do anything else. We want to keep them. We don't want them to go away. We're not trying to grow them. Then what are we doing to make sure that happens? Hope, wish. Now, granted, Collins, I know in your world, hey, you know what? Are there relationship managers? You're not considered the relationship manager, are you?
I am.
Oh, you are? Okay. Well, there we go. So then there's portfolio managers and everything. But relationship manager, man, if there's some people who want to keep, once you land them, who's responsible for making sure that they don't go someplace else? This guy, right? Okay. Well, let's see. I don't see that in your cookbook. I'm being facetious here, right? But right? And so what that tells me is for these clients, what David Sandler would call, it's probably done through hysterical activity. Basically, there's no rhyme or reason. Oh, let me check in on so-and-so. Hey, everything good? Yeah, right? It's not process driven. It's not systematized and that sort of thing. Hey, as far as Collins is concerned, hey, you know what? I gotta keep feeding the funnel. So I have all this stuff down because, man, that's my main thing. Gotta go find new folks. That's the thing that actually keeps me getting paid or whatever it is. Sometimes with recapture, some of these things might be applied to recapturing somebody. But once again, these things, man, where does it, is there some way that if I have 30 to 75% market share to get it up to 50 to 100% market share, whatever? Well, hold on a second. Where's the behavior? Now, they may not be as constant in your cookbook. They may not be every day like cold calling or whatever. They don't necessarily need to be. But there needs to be something identified that really hits on all these. Now, once again, like for Rich, the attain, not necessarily anything that, that's what we think of when we think of prospecting. We think, hey, going out and getting these folks somehow, some way. We know that's not there. There's probably something you can do as it relates to helping attain new folks. But in your instance, maybe your behavior, and you have a couple of those, how can I get more business here, right? And then you got, how can I make sure that, some of our best clients, or your best client is somebody else's best prospect, so I got to keep them. No recapture necessarily activity that's out there. And granted, this is in the confines of what's asked for you. But when we look at our cookbook, we want to break it out like that to say, okay, hold on a second. If there's a certain client, certain prospect that should be in this particular category, then what specifically, who are they? And what specifically should I be doing? What behavior should be somewhere during the year, during the quarter, during the month, whatever it is, that I want to track. I want to keep track of. I want to hold myself accountable to, because I know if I do that, then I have a better chance. If I've identified the right things, I have a better chance of expanding this thing. I have a better chance of keeping this thing. I have a better chance of getting something back from a cookbook standpoint. So, having said that, and you can just jot down some stuff, so we'll talk about it. But looking at page 5 on here, because kind of what we did, first off, look at page 3, and you can see some of the general attributes of the keep, attain, recapture, and expand. Maybe it's acceptable profitability, minimal growth potential. We have some of that stuff up there for keep. Attain, you know what, hey, a low level of vulnerability. Sometimes we think of vulnerability, hey, once I get these folks, I know they're not going to go anywhere. I don't want to get somebody who's going to be just jumping ship left and right and that sort of thing. And once again, this is ideally, there's no perfect world, but overall, we're trying to paint the picture. And you'll see some of these categories kind of jump to, or you'll see one attribute over in another one. But for the most part, there should be some potentially, what's the word I'm looking for, exclusive attributes to that category. Now, for each one of these, and now on page 5, I want you to take a moment and write down, we'll talk about it. You can write it down. Name for me one account you have that belongs in the keep category, that you put in the keep category.
State data center.
State data center, okay, you write that down for right now just so you keep track of it. Collins?
Family called the Baileys.
The Baileys, okay. I don't know if you just violated some confidentiality law, but we never heard that. Okay. Attain. Write down current, let's say a prospect, current or maybe a desired prospect, somebody you'd like to, an account you'd like to attain. Who would that be? You don't have to tell us, you can just write it down. Once you have that written down, okay, well, how about recapture? A client, a prospect that you'd like to re-engage with either get the business back or get another at bat, another swing at the pitch with the prospect that maybe you struck out with before. And then same obviously for expand. And so this is where we're going to put kind of our thinking cap on a little bit. And you can use kind of page 6 for this if you want to record the stuff. But when I think of a cookbook, or if you think about your cookbook and that sort of thing, this asks, I think, for one, no, it asks for three, it asks for one action for 3 clients. I want you to not think of it like that. I want you to think of what are the actions per, you have a specific client down there, so you can use that as the base, whatever you just wrote down. But I don't want you to necessarily think of one key action. I want you to think of maybe 2 or 3 that belong in your cookbook that could go to any other client. So let's talk about keep for a second. What would be, in your respective worlds, 2 to 3 keep activities, or activities that you should do, and then put a time frame on it, whether it be monthly, quarterly, whatever it is. Just think of it, that you should do for a client in the keep category. Got a couple things, Colin? What do you have?
So I have a telephone call monthly.
Okay. Monthly phone call. And what is that call? I'm just curious. What's that call doing?
It's just checking in and letting them know that I'm here if anything's come up. Occasionally, if I'll have a follow-up item, or if I've had something that I've left them with, like, hey, we need to take a look at setting up a trust for your daughter. Then it's a follow-up and just say, hey guys, you were on my mind. Wanted to see if you had any questions since our last meeting. Have you given any consideration to our conversation around the trust? Maybe, yes, no, maybe. Great. Thank you so much. If there's anything I can do, please let me know.
Okay. So monthly phone call. And the content of the call, you'll figure out each time.
It's got to change. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you've got to to me, you absolutely have to highlight the different services that you offer and make sure that you cover all of them. And so it could be like, hey, I just saw this really interesting article about the U.S. economy.
Exactly.
Would you like me to review it on our next call?
Yeah, got to bring value each time, but you got to have it on the calendar. Boom, I got it, so you can plan for it. Now, scale of 1 to 10, how much do you do that now with your current client? 100%. 100%? Okay, good. So you got that. Yeah. So that should be on your cookbook somewhere, right?
It really should. I never thought about that. It's absolutely true.
Okay, just to make sure it stays, doesn't dissipate into the atmosphere.
Yep.
Okay, what else?
And then an account review once a quarter. This is in person too.
Okay. And this some you do 100% too?
Yeah, try to. Unless they're
try. Hold on, what is it? Do or do not. There is no try. So I'm kind of rusty on my Yoda quotes, but
yeah, I haven't missed one yet.
Okay. And that's quarterly.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's putting performance, really just gain loss into summary, helping them understand where we are right now, broadly speaking about some topics we're considering, and then bringing up the important stuff like, okay, we've still got updating beneficiaries, for example.
Right.
Making sure that everything is set up appropriately so that when they pass, they make sure that everything's taken care of for their kids. Talking about, hey, have you done any elder care planning? Helping understand where you are.
Well, okay, so you kind of figuring out kind of that sort of thing. We talked about kind of a recon meeting. Remember why we engaged in the first place? What's been your experience? What changes may be on the horizon, or should we make, if any? What opportunities may be there?
Yeah.
Any next steps we should take, right? I mean, there's structure to it.
Do we need to adjust your allocation?
Right.
That's another thing.
Right, okay.
Are you still in the best investments?
Okay, so that's something you do. What else do you have? Anything else?
Yeah, annual planning meeting.
Annual planning meeting, okay. And I can understand what that is.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, that's the most important thing.
Obviously, yeah. You want to make sure you're on track.
Yeah.
Anything else? And that could be fine, but just for the benefit of, have a couple minds here and that sort of thing. Anything else that you can think of, a behavior that should be included to ensure that you're doing everything to keep a client? Now, and once again, when you think about, kind of who the kind of clients are there, I don't know if it's not a huge network, you're not necessarily trying to expand. Now, some of these things you may be trying to expand, so I don't know if, as you look at some of these things, it's like, okay, well, hold on a second. Should that be an expand thing, or is that exactly where it is? Good spousal relationship, that's there. Whatever it is, the first part of the exercise is just about trying to delineate and looking at these factors to maybe help spur us to think about something that may be key. But anything else? Let's try and figure out one other activity you'd say that could be beneficial that you want to start doing as a behavior. Maybe it's something you don't do now, or maybe you do very inconsistently as a behavior that would increase your chances of keeping this particular client. And it may have to do with just the relationship period, not so much the business side of things.
To me, I mean, it's expanding beyond the first generation.
Okay.
I think that's an invaluable thing, and if clients are open to it.
So what's the behavior?
The behavior is trying to get in front of their children, assuming A, they have them, and then B, they're open to discussing their finances with their kids. And when I say keep, these are typically older clients, maybe in their 70s. They're drawing from their portfolio. Okay.
So I'm not sure when you say try to get in front of the kids. I don't know if that's the behavior, or if there's something that the behavior would be the thing that is manifested by that try, would be described as a try. I mean, is that a quarterly offspring of rich people seminar or something? I don't know. Or so think about that. If that's the behavior, it's like, okay, well, I want to consistently get in front of the next generation. Presumably, they have something to discuss, some money. That maybe the trusts are going down, whatever it is. What that is, I'm thinking something really simple. I'll just throw something out here. What about? And so you can throw that down, whatever that behavior is. What about from the standpoint of relationship? Some sort of, I'll keep it really basic, really simple. Do you acknowledge their birthdays or do anything?
That's an expand technique, actually.
You call that an expand technique? Okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
You can do both, and I think you can create a good experience. But birthday lunches I've found to be valuable.
A birthday lunch?
So what
I was just thinking of a birthday acknowledgement, but hey, he's big money. He springs for whatever.
Right.
So whatever it is, lunch, acknowledgement.
Yeah. Well, it's great actually. So anytime I've got a client coming up, I try to have their birthday booked out about, so I know about it 3 weeks to a month out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll call them and I'll say, hey, you got a birthday coming up?
Mm-hmm.
I want to help you celebrate. I want you to bring 3 of your best friends to lunch. We're going to meet this place, this time. Just give me their names ahead of time, and I'll make sure that they're invited.
I like that.
This is not going to be discussing business.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go ahead and make that clear. And so they're like, are you sure? Are you sure? Like, yeah, of course I'm sure. We're going to celebrate your birthday. This is going to be a really fun one.
Okay, so you got that on the thing already, bang, you're all over it. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe the kid thing, whatever it is. Okay. And you're saying that goes to expansion. Fair enough. Rich, what do you have under keep? What do you think?
Well, for me, the most important thing is just following up in a timely manner to requests.
Okay. Follow up to timely manners. So, timely to request. Now that is a reactionary thing, because if they never make any requests, anything that is proactive from a standpoint of keeping.
Just stopping by and seeing them once or twice a year, face to face.
Okay. And so face-to-face stop by. And so that once or twice a year should be nailed down to the once a year or twice a year, is it, whatever it is. But to get that in there, if it's going to be one of my typical behaviors. So, okay, there you go. Attain, you have plenty of your attain stuff, Colin, so I imagine there's not necessarily anything else that you throw out there. Anything that, when you think about it, Rich, within your control, from an attain standpoint, that, given the limited amount of prospecting that you do, that should be or could be added.
Yeah,
Maybe not.
Stop by in person, lunch meeting if you can get them out to a lunch meeting.
To whom?
To a prospective client.
Okay, do you do that? You have time to do that, or?
Sometimes,
Okay.
So if they will, a lot of times they won't.
Okay. Okay.
To be honest.
And how do you find out who they are? Are they already on the map? Somebody?
Yeah, I mean, this is folks that we've worked with in the past, or
You've worked with them in the past.
so I get
That sounds like that's recapture.
That's recapture. Well, I mean, depends what kind of client. If it's a general contractor, it's not recapture because we didn't lose them. We did a project with them and then the project ended.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could call that recapture, but.
Yeah, and think of recapture as re-engage.
Right. Okay.
That sort of thing. Some attain is like, man, we've not done anything together
Yeah, it's just,
ever. Maybe nothing for you there.
I mean, like I said, on Friday I went out and saw a prospective client.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a in-person meeting, face to face.
Okay. And how did it come to you? Just somebody?
Through Amber, through a coworker.
Okay. So it may be that because we're always trying to say, okay, what's within my control. So maybe you're working through your coworkers to say, once a month or whatever, hey, give me a list of opportunities. What opportunities you're working on that may be that could be passed on, that could be whatever it is, right? So I'm going to say colleague. Request. I can't think of the word I'm looking for.
I mean, that's.
But once again, this is just all
it's
about.
Sort of kind of like, that's, I guess you could call it a strategy, but it's largely just working well with my colleagues because
Right.
they bring me work.
Right. And so what we're talking about here, because see, and everything could be going just swimmingly. What we're talking about here is to say, how do I, even if I'm here, then how do I get here purposely? Right? Because I can sit back and just the way it is, hey, we're all chummy in the office and I know sooner or later it'll come to me, that sort of thing. Or I can be a little bit more, I can systematize it somehow and know that, hey, at first of the month, I call and say, hey, or I set a review meeting, hey, this is one of the things. I want to make it as seamless as possible for you to give me, okay, that didn't work, right? For you to give me,
Well,
opportunities.
For example, Paul and Amber are both in work.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But when they have a project where they need some technical help, a lot of times they'll come to me because, for example, Dean is also a little less on the technical side.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going to go to him. And Danny's the only other one in our service side that can help, but he's just really swamped.
Mm-hmm.
A little more senior guy, so they usually come to me.
Okay.
So that's reactionary, but I'll stop what I'm doing and help them out because they do feed me work.
Right. Okay. And so maybe paint the picture even more of the kind of work they should feature or something. I don't know. I mean, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But just to make sure that if there's anything I can do to not just wait for it to happen, even if it's the most minuscule things, that I can technically say, it's in my cookbook, I do this once a month, once a quarter, whatever it is, and then be able to look back and say, because I do that once a quarter, it gives me that much more opportunity. Because I mean, we know that it's there. It's like referral asks, right? I mean, sometimes they come to you, but the more you ask, the more, and the way you ask, the more times that people say, oh, you know what? Now that you ask, right? Everybody wants to do. Most people want to do you a solid like that. So recapture anything, and once again, the whole purpose of this is if I just find, as we looked at, hey, what's on your cookbook? Most of it was attain for Collins, a couple expand and keep. Even if you identify one or two more things that I throw on there that I can actually say, hey, you know what, this is what I'm doing. That's what we're trying to do. So from a standpoint of recapture, what are you doing right now? Or what can you do, not what are you doing right now, what can you do on a regular basis, what regular being relative, to recapture clients or prospects? And this might be the one that actually, it's usually the ones that's actually least addressed, to be quite honest. I think recapture and keep, because we tend to think with attain and expand, we tend to think always new business, how to get new business, either brand new spanking new business from a prospect or business from somebody, growing whatever it is. But recapture, sometimes once they're off the radar, they're off the radar. Didn't work. They're not interested, right? So, recapture. Collins.
So for me, what I like to do with the recapture area depends on where it comes from. So if it's a channel source, law or CPA, and the person did not become a client, I will reach back out to them and just say, hey, maybe it makes sense to get in front of them again. What do you think?
How often?
I try to do, I would love to say I had enough people in that space to where I could do once a week, but it's really every other week.
So every other week.
Yep.
So COI, re-engagement as far as that person goes. Every other week. So basically, you have about 26 potential resurrection type, Okay. Recapture. Okay, 26. Okay.
So we got the COI re-engagement, and then for prospects that I've developed on my own or have come in through the firm, it's just as simple as sending them an email and just saying, I just wanted to check in and see if there's anything you guys can help with. If it makes sense.
How often do you do that?
I do that same sort of deal.
Once every other week.
Yeah.
How come that wasn't in your cookbook thing when we?
It is.
I didn't hear you listing.
I forgot to state it.
Okay. Okay. Resurrection emails.
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah, resurrection.
Oh, okay. Anything else to recapture? Is there an additional recapture behavior that you can do or should do? Prospect or client. What about clients that have gone by that have left?
I only have one of those.
Okay.
So if he left recently, I don't think it would be pulling back anytime soon.
Okay. Hold it. Out of all the, do they just have to be in your universe, or maybe they left Freestone, I don't know, years ago?
Okay, great, but they're really the practice. Like I said, Freestone is a great company, but they've got plenty of issues around that. And one of the issues is it's a very siloed organization.
Okay.
Everybody kind of works on
So that's fair enough. So you don't have any past clients, and you haven't been there long enough to necessarily have a lot of recaptured clients.
I have one client who's left us,
Mhm.
and the guy is an absolute
So you don't want to recapture.
Exactly.
Okay, fair enough.
I feel bad for whoever.
I think you talked about them recently. Okay.
It's a real piece of work.
Anything else you can think of? Once again, part of this is just to get your thinking caps going as far as this. Am I doing everything from a behavior standpoint once I kind of parse these things out to get to recapture these type of clients? Well, I erased it, but you know what I mean. So those two things, based resurrection email and CIRE engagement.
Yeah.
Okay. If something else comes to mind, jot it down, but.
I've got an idea, but I've never done it.
What's that?
Get invited to events.
Why wouldn't you do that?
I know. It's a really good question.
Event invite. Of course. Because people leave, they leave their current vendors for some reason. They're unhappy.
Yeah.
And maybe all of a sudden they're there, or maybe they want more information. They say, hey, you know what, timing is right. So that should be something that, just because, see what happens is with prospects, we tend to think, well, they already said no, I don't want to be a pest or anything, and they're going to not. You never know. Depending on how you leave it, hey, you know what, we want to fit right now. You can set the stage. Listen, you may or may not like it, and if not, please let me know. But one of the things that I tend to do with anybody I engage, whether they engage with us or not, is we have these events. And would it be okay if I invited you to events? You can come or not come, but events I think would be beneficial for you.
Yeah.
That'd be okay. They know what you're trying to do. That's fine. But if it's something worthy of being there and they find value in it, okay, well, this is kind of a drip campaign, if you will.
If they weren't interested, they wouldn't go.
Right.
At all.
And life is about timing. So if that's not on there somewhere, put it on there. Yeah, as far as a new cookbook thing. Rich, how about you? Recapture.
Just follow up with a call, maybe say 4 to 6 months afterwards.
Okay. Hey, I hear you went with Mac Miller. You regretting that decision yet? Something like that? Okay.
Yeah, that's
Anything
what
else?
I got.
Okay.
But yeah, the event,
What a-
it's not a bad idea, I like that too.
Right. And what about people who've left ACO for whatever reason? I mean, that follow up. Is there anything else that could be done? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Maybe it's a change in, I don't know, you check the change in structure, building owner or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
You want to look and say, okay, hold on, if I'm trying to recapture this, what do I do on a regular basis?
Yeah. We have CoStar, so you can look up, you can easily search, at least in King County, and I think Pierce County too, you can say, show me all the buildings that have changed ownership in the last 6 months.
Okay.
Pop it up, so yeah, you could do that.
Okay. And then finally, what about expand? You already have a couple things there. Anything else you could add to your cookbook from an expand?
Definitely invite to events.
Okay. What kind of events do you do?
We just had a sweet night at Number Rainiers actually last week.
Oh.
Which is pretty cool, It wasn't a big, there's not enough room to invite 100 people, but
Mhm.
we had, maybe 24 folks and maybe half were company folks and half were clients.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fun. So we do that. Around Christmas time, we have a Christmas tree or wreath giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
Invite folks and they work it out with the local tree farm where we go and it's at the tree farm and clients pick up the tree and they chop it down and get it all ready for them. And it's all free.
Okay.
Wreath. So we do that. There's always lunches, which really that's not event invite, but there's lunches too.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. There's been talks of doing a few other things, but those are two big things we do right now.
Okay. Anything specific to, and you may have mentioned this before in your other cookbook thing, anything specific to, they're using from a maintenance standpoint, that you can, to find opportunities to expand more. Well, give me an example of an expanded relationship.
So for example, T-Mobile,
Mhm.
huge company. So there's room to expand, but it's a process of finding out who you have to talk to.
Mhm.
Because the guys that I communicate with most frequently, they only oversee 2 facilities, and that's it. They don't
Mhm.
have exposure to the other facilities, but maybe they could help me out, figure out who I need to talk to.
I was just thinking about it. So think about that, where you get, let's just say intro to other
Yeah,
key players,
exactly.
right? Because of course, that's the way to expand. That also may be something where you're trying to make sure you keep somebody. Where what if your key, whatchamacallit, leaves? Who do you turn to then? How do you make sure that you are in control of the relationship there, so it's not just eggs in one basket, one person? Collins, I mentioned this, and this may or may not, or apply to you as much. But Rich talked about, kind of from an expand standpoint, an introduction to other key players like a T-Mobile to look to expand services. Because all of a sudden, like with you, you're dealing more with individuals, and it's not like all of a sudden they're just going to quit and go someplace else or whatever. But is there any sort of, from an expansion standpoint, expansion of services? How would that?
Yeah.
What would that mean?
Yeah, I mean, you could expand services, kind of getting back to what I was talking about with the re-engagement,
Mhm.
to an event.
Mhm.
Guess what? We have something, and something that I'm working on right now, because it looks like my function
Mhm.
is going to move to pure business development for the firm.
Mhm.
But we'll see.
Oh, what's that? To do what?
Oh, did I not tell you that?
No.
So we brought on this new head of growth guy.
Yeah.
And he evaluated kind of where we stand with everything. And he was just like, I've developed a great relationship with Schwab and,
Mhm.
and all the branches, and you can see the pretty significant improvement in deal flow that we're getting from them. Which I don't know. I mean, if you're going from pretty bad to okay,
Mhm.
it's going to be pretty good. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But it looks like I might just be going to pure business development for the firm-wide project.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just don't know yet.
Interesting.
Very interesting, right?
Okay. All right. Huh. Okay.
But one of the things that we're doing is trying to expand our services beyond just investments. It's always been about the investments. They're
Mhm.
great, but like it's a component
Right.
of everything.
Right. What's another search you're trying to expand to, for instance, outside of investments?
Sure, I just brought it up earlier. Elder care services. So
Okay.
helping clients plan for finding the appropriate solution at a time. Because if they're tired of living in a house, and they're tired of mowing grass, tired of all that.
Right.
Okay, maybe a senior living community is a good thing, where you
Mhm.
have your own home.
Mhm.
Well, if that's the case, maybe we should look at an integrated senior living facility where if you need more services, you can move into like the senior apartment complex.
Yeah.
But it's defining those transitions before they happen.
Oh, okay.
And so, like, this is not a good service for, it just does not fit the ideal client. But I have a client who's 50 years old or 55. He's the CEO of a regional bank, and he just brought over another $4 million. Well, his parents were successful people.
Mhm.
They have money. Going to him and saying, "Hey, Steve, have you thought about this for your mother? She's 92. Might be a good time. What do you think?"
Mhm.
And that could be anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there could be anything from like, okay, well, here's a great facility. Here's a great solution to, well, maybe we should set it up so that she has in-home care.
Mhm.
She can afford it. Let's see what that looks like.
Mhm.
But it's just making it about something other than just the investment.
Gotcha. Okay. So value added, introducing value added
Exactly.
things. Okay, fair enough.
Things that we're not going to charge for, but
Mhm.
they're still going to add a lot of value for the client.
See, that's the introduction to a key player introduced to their mom or their kids or whatever. Key playing the thing.
I love it, man.
Yeah. So overall, this is just a, I don't want to say just, and you just want to minimize it. It makes sense to, when we look at our cookbook, it makes sense to always evaluate your cookbook on a regular basis and say, okay, hold on a second, is this serving me well? I'm in the process of talking to my accountability partners. It's modified some of the activities in my cookbook, from some of the things. I'm like, oh, I like that. Let me add that, and kind of take away some other stuff that's like on the fence with. But then also from the standpoint, and I've mentioned this before, from our sales accountability tool, it is broken up into KARE, and so you can see here these are my keep categories. Special invitation, service review, meeting, one-to-one with key decision makers in those accounts. And obviously there's a bunch of attained stuff from referral requests to, by the way, speaking of that, I'll make one right now. I'm looking for, and my referral requests, I try to be specific when it comes to helping, maybe once again kind of activate something in somebody's mind. But in particular, I'm looking for somebody you owns a business that maybe has like only 3 to 4 reps. So it's not a huge thing, but it's big enough where they've either brought them on, they've had them on a couple of years and that sort of thing, and for whatever reason, they're of the mindset to say, hey, we want to step this up. Things may be going well, but they're not super fantastic. They have 3 to 4. They're looking for 4 to 8. They're looking to hire 1 or 2 more, that sort of thing. So, in your dealings as you deal with the people you deal with, certainly, if it makes sense to have a conversation, introduce them, invite them to sales master or whatever it is, or just have a brief conversation. I'd appreciate the introduction.
Yeah.
Boom.
Have you ever worked with an investment bank before?
I've not worked with an investment bank before.
Yeah, middle market investment banks are awesome. I've actually been trying to bring a couple of guys from a couple of different ones.
And the thing about it, I can see how they could likely benefit because they probably are very entrenched in a traditional selling model and that sort of thing.
And they do well on it, but they could do a lot better.
Right, exactly. So I have that, speaking call requests, all that kind of good stuff. My recapture stuff, obviously I have resurrection attempts. I keep track of conversations as well. It's one thing to make an attempt, but how many conversations do you actually resurrect? Maybe send a personal note, that through send out cards, kind of electronically do that sort of thing. And then there's a couple expand type of deals. So, when you have it, when you can think about it like that, and keep track of it, and specifically compartmentalize your behavior, so okay, I'm maximizing this for this type of client. It's just about stepping it up just a little bit from the standpoint of your behaviors. And so you can always look back and say, oh, you know what, I'm not doing enough to expand this relationship. I always have to keep it on the radar. That's really what it's all about. It's about keeping these things on the radar because we get in the habit of certain stuff. Either, hey, our colleagues they're gonna feed me stuff. Yeah, I get it. And you know what, hey, I eat well with it. Everything goes well, but is there something to ratchet it up even to the next plateau up? That's really what it's all about. It's not like it's gonna totally change your world overnight, but there's probably some opportunity that's going by the wayside by not making it more or embedding it in your process. Make sense? All right. So think about that. If you identify something, put it on there. Figure out where it fits in. You guys get out a little bit early, but not before you tell me one thing you can you'll take some action on tomorrow, maybe today, and then I'll let you go away and dry that wet spot on my carpet.
I should really just print out my full account list and put everyone in one of these buckets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what's funny, we don't have anywhere where it's just, I could easily pull up a list of all my accounts, so it's kind of, I have a couple small accounts I just forget about because almost nothing ever comes through.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're in that keep category, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're not even.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, that small account and everybody forgets about them, and guess what? They'll forget about you.
Exactly.
Right?
You put the K in the cookbook. I can't believe I didn't have it in there.
Right. Okay. It's not unusual. I mean, it's like I say, it's likely the one that gets overlooked the most of all the categories.
So it's weird.
One of either that or recapture.
I'll do it like once a month, or the first week of the month.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a list and I'll go through and I'll have it segmented,
Mhm.
but it's just not an efficient system.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
need to improve it.
Yeah, yeah. And Rich kind of mentioned it, and it may be under the expand as well, but what your, those games and things like that, you know, no one mentioned, you know, what kind of client appreciation type events do you have? You want to keep them. Basically, that's kind of what that is. It's like, hey, you know what? We appreciate you. You know,
Sometimes they kind of feed you information during those events that can help.
Mhm.
You know, like the fellow that I invited for Sweet Night.
Uh-huh.
He kind of mentions it like under the radar. He doesn't tell you directly like, hey, if you want my business, do this. He kind of throws little clues.
But do this.
Yeah, he kind of throws little clues in there. He kind of mentioned that, you know, hey, you know, if somebody shoots me an email with a price, and then I get other pricing, I have to take those emails up to my boss,
Mhm.
and then the boss typically goes with the lowest bid.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, hey, if somebody was to call me, and then, you know, I got emails from their competition, if someone was to call me, I
Mhm.
can kind of let you know where you need to be to get that business.
Yeah.
So, he kind of mentioned that.
Yeah. And sometimes about being top of mind. Here's the other one that I don't know. You decide where you put it. How often do you track the referrals that you give? And we think about referrals we get, but if I'm being more purposeful about looking for opportunities to refer to, I don't know, some clients that I'm trying to recapture, or trying to expand, or trying to keep. Remember that whole principle of influence, reciprocity. You do something for me, I feel obligated to do something for you. And it doesn't have to be on the same magnitude. It may just be that, wow, you know, I'm not even a customer. They sent somebody. You know what? I should actually give them another try. Collins keeps feeding me some good stuff here. Maybe I need to actually at least throw them a bone and listen to them. You never know. You know, or, man, they take good care of me. You know, the service is fine, but, man, whatever it is, right? And so sometimes we get so caught up in doing stuff ourselves that, or for ourselves, that we forget, hold on, you know, I might be able to benefit by doing something for somebody else. And you figure out what it is in your own respective world, and that actually may be something that, I don't care if you try, if your goal is to do it 4 times a year, once a quarter, it's going to come back to you. So just keep that in mind. Appreciate you coming out on this sunny day as opposed to, you know, extending the Seafair weekend another day.
I don't want to be out in the sun anymore.
Hey, well, it's going to be 90 degrees the next couple of days. So anyway, that is it, gentlemen. I will end the recording here.
Just to share,
Yeah.
When I was in grad school, we had a guest, you get a lot of guest speakers in grad school.
Mhm.
We had this one guy that started his own business doing precision machining.
Mhm.
He made the wheels for the Mars rover, or one of the Mars rovers, like high-end stuff, but not
Wow.
everything he does high-end. But anyway, he started his own business, so they had him come in for an entrepreneurship class.
Uh-huh.
And he talked about how he categorized his clients.
Uh-huh.
He did it on an A, B, C, F level.
Mhm.
And it was 3-pronged. I mean, this is more simplistic than all this. This
Right.
is really simplistic. But
Uh-huh.
one, does my client do a lot of business with me? 2, do they pay on time? 3, are they easy to work with? So if a company has all three of those, they're an A client, you kiss their butt.
Mhm.
Do whatever it has to do,
Uh-huh.
you keep them. If they have two of those, you're gonna wanna keep those clients.
Uh-huh.
But, maybe they don't get priority over A clients. If they only have one, maybe you wanna think about dropping them. It depends on how busy you are and your planning.
If they have none,
If none, they're
F
not
for
client,
fired.
they're gone. That's it. And it was just like real simple.
Yeah.
I always liked that because it was easy to remember.
Yeah.
Real
Makes
simple.
sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, go forth and do what you're supposed to do. See everybody next week.